21, Greymouth to Hokitika via the West Coast Wilderness Trail. This is basically 100 k's off-road, 30 k's in you go through a very small settlement of Kumara, which really didn't have much there, it was closed, but I went through there early, and then you go through some phenomenal sort of variety of scenery, sort of following forest. We just sort of single track through there, but all quite easy rideable. And then you're going through a bit of lakes, you're going through a bit of climbing, but nothing too serious, and you come to Cowboy's Paradise, which originally looks like some sort of old abandoned town out of a western or something or other. There's now a couple of buildings there I think they use for functions occasionally. There's some sort of vehicle access, but you can't sort of see it, you're on trail. And then you just go through these switchbacks down and following rivers, and then a part of it you actually are following along where the sluice for the old gold mining is alongside you on the trail, and the water's going down it. I had a great day, the 100 k's heading into Hokitika. Thoroughly enjoyed the ride, thoroughly enjoyed the variety of scenery. I would highly recommend it. A couple of other groups were out there. We just hired e-bikes and that sort of thing, do like a day ride on part of it and this sort of thing, and I could thoroughly see that attraction of doing that. Really did it, really enjoyed riding on a bike with the pedal stayed on. Yeah, it was a great day, great scenery. Into Hokitika, went out and decided to eat in the motel, bought a large amount of food, which was good. And there's also census night in New Zealand, so I filled out 5 questions of a census form, and yeah, I really enjoyed the day. Day 22, Hokitika to Harihari. It's only about an 80k day, but it just sort of worked out with some gaps between towns, etc., and start to sort of plan out what could be finishing in just over a week. So basically still on the West Coast Wilderness Trail for about half of the first 30 k's through to Ross, which is just a small town there, which I sort of stopped and had breakfast at. And then you're on joining the main highway 6, which is fairly quiet really. You don't get much traffic on it apart from motorhomes, which I found sort of came out at 10 and were gone by 3. Just seemed to be that sort of rite of passage. But that was fine. Into Harihari, yeah, enjoyed the day. Showers here and there, which was just okay, and then basically some heavier rain towards the end of the day. Went into Hari, sort of stopped, and basically, yeah, I was a bit early into it, of course, and I had thought about going further, but it was just too far. So yeah, had a bite to eat at the cafe at Hari, which was quite pleasant. I was staying at a lodge there, which was really nice room and ensuite and that, and then walked back into the town and local pub, which is I'd describe it as eclectic. Good food and drink, but it's a large place, not a lot of people there. I'm sure it's got a fascinating history. Anyhow, then walked back to the lodge and sort of walked past what was the shelter of an airplane, and it was somebody had flown across the Tasman. Going, oh, there's a bit of history there. Anyhow, it was a good day, a bit of rain. Rain was still happening when I went to bed, and I'm going, okay, it's going to be a longer day tomorrow, and it looked like not great weather. Anyhow, it was a good day. Look forward to the next one. Day 23, Hari to Fox Glacier Township, raining all day. It was probably the first day of just heavy rain, just happening fairly frequently throughout the day. Sort of 30 k's to Aotearoa, had a bit of breakfast there, and just sort of was in no hurry to leave, quite frankly. As it was only 86 odd k's I was doing for the day, it was like, okay, I've got time. So left there, and just the rain. You go past Lake Maporika, I might have pronounced that wrong, of course, but it was pouring rain, so that worked out quite well. There was a Department of Conservation camping ground there and rest area, so I was there for about 40 minutes to an hour underneath a shelter as it just poured down, just starting to affect the visibility a little bit. And again, as I said, I'm in no rush to do it, so stopped there and I had some food with me and just sort of relax for a while. It sort of cleared up the visibility wise, so then I cruised on into Franz Joseph Township, and it was sort of okay. The rain, it sort of eased off a bit, so stopped there, and it was busy as you'd expect. And as it had eased off, I headed out again, and of course it just bucketed down, as it would, so ended up standing under a tree for half an hour. Wasn't so much the heavy rain, that was fine, but it was just the visibility aspect. I was going, okay, I've got lights, but I'll wait till it improves. Cleared up just to showers, and then I had about three sort of hills of 400 metres, not going down to 0 metres in between, to do before I'd head down into Fox Glacier Township. That was actually, all three were quite rideable, which was nice. Quite stunning scenery, you're just sort of riding along, and obviously you can see the effect of the rain, sort of like waterfalls on the side of the road, lots of river moving at water moving at vast pace down rivers, etc. It was kind of cool. So just got over the last hill, and of course it's brilliant sunshine as you head down into Fox Glacier Township. Got there in good time, quite pleased with the day actually, the effort, despite the stops and the rain. So I decided as I leave early in the morning that I'd better go up and see the glacier now. So cycled up there, just a couple of k's up. Really cool actually. I really liked the glacier. Saw more of it. There was more of it than what I thought there would be. I've been to Franz Josef a few years ago, and we were going, oh okay, that's a long way away. It's definitely receded. So this was quite cool. They went back in and into the town of Fox Glacier and into the motel. Changed my other brake pads, and then headed down to the local and did the usual, and enjoyed that of course, and looking forward to what was going to be a longer day the next day. Day 24, Fox Glacier Township to Haast, about 130k day. Left early in the morning as usual. It was a really nice looking day, beautiful sunrise. Sort of first stop 45k's, and it was slightly sort of downhill for the first 25 of that, which was nice. And you come to Bruce Bay, which is sort of on the coast, and just sort of like, oh, okay. So I was at a glacier and now I'm at the coast. And it was only 2 and a bit hours later, so maybe 2.5. I was doing really well. That was quite spectacular. And then at about the 60k mark, there's the first sort of food, which is the Salmon Farm Cafe. Of of course, luck of the timing, there was a tour bus that arrived 5 minutes before, so I was halfway in the queue. But that was a nice stop, nice feed. Yeah, a little bit of a salmon farm you can have a look at while you're eating and drinking, so that was good. And then basically you go past Lake Paringa, which is, again, more staying, one of those really still lakes. You can sort of see a reflection of the mountains that are around in it. Yeah, that was really beautiful, actually. And then you head out to the coast again, and basically headed up a Knights Point lookout, and just following the coast all the way down, and then you just go inland a little bit to Haast, crossing spectacular rivers, huge bridge on the way. Yeah, gorgeous weather, no wind, really, yeah, scenery. You just went, how could I have so much variety of scenery in one day of cycling? Yeah, I was on a bit of a high, actually, I think, when I finished the day. Went down and purchased food from the local Four Square. Pub was closed, so I had a big one-bedroom unit in this motel, so I sort of cooked up quite a feed, really, of the usual rice and chicken and veggies and desserts, and yeah, I was feeling good. The other really promising thing is that all the noise that I had in the they'd put grease into the rear hub way back in Wanganui, I was realising that I wasn't hearing it. So, well, it wasn't 100% smooth. There definitely was no more noise coming out of it, and so that was a real positive sign. So whatever was there basically got forced out of the hub, or something happened to it, and the bike was running really well. So it was a great day. Day 25, Haast to Lake Hawea Township. Yeah, 125k odd day, so got away early. No real stop anywhere until you get the top of Haas Pass, which is 564 metres of climbing. So I sort of went solidly until the start of that climb thinking, yeah, this is going to test me. But actually, apart from obviously being incredibly stunning with all the waterfalls and the rivers, and you were just sort of meandering in and around, and then suddenly you come to a valley. Yeah, it was great riding. Walked virtually none of it. It was 10k climb. It actually was quite nice climbing. Happy to get the top, but it was a nice climb, and I quite frankly enjoyed it enormously. So then you cruise on down, and then you sort of, about the 80k mark, you come to the Aotearoa Country Cafe, which is the first food. It's actually the only food on the whole day. So I stay there a while. Again, another gorgeous day in terms of weather-wise, and no wind bothering me or anything. So, and then you think, well, this has been a spectacular start, and then you sort of head out, and you've got like, oh, okay. So the next couple of hours, I've got Lake Wanaka on my right-hand side, and I'm riding down. And then you go, okay, this couldn't get any better in terms of scenery. And then you go across the saddle for half a dozen k's or so, and then you've got Lake Hawea on your left as you ride into Lake Hawea Township. It was quite breathtaking, actually. It's something that, because you're on the bike, is one of those scenery things you go, this is quite amazing. I've said the word stunning too many times, but it really was stunning. Lake Hawea Township, pretty little town. Most places are on the lake. I had an Airbnb there, or B&B, what do you call it, but basically, because very little accommodation there, and the pub had some sort of function on. It was quite a nice looking pub. So I did as I had a 3-bedroom house to myself, basically. Washing machines. I got quite relaxed and laid out and washed all the clothes, and went and bought the foursquare down the road. So bought up some food and relaxed, and even watched a bit of television, which I really hadn't done the whole trip. It was a very pleasant night. Slept well. You sort of, got up and you go outside, and of course there's the lake just there. Really nice place. Enjoyed the day again. Day 26, Lake Aotearoa Township to Queenstown. Wasn't quite sure how this day would sort of pan out. 110 odd Ks. First stop was really Wanaka, it's only like 25 Ks down the road on a cycle trail. I was on leaving obviously early in the morning because I wasn't quite sure. There's a big climb today, so yeah, I left early, got to Wanaka, and the trail itself would go around the edge of Lake Wanaka. Well, it's going to be pitch black, so there seemed to be no point doing that. I wasn't going to see anything, so I just went through the middle of Wanaka. And then you start what is a 39 kilometre climb up to the Crown Range summit, which is 1,064 metres or something or other. It is deceiving. Just got 39 kilometres in to do that sort of height, but it's very, very nominal grading and a little bit of undulating, but very nominal. And then you go past the famous Geange Hotel, and that was cool. And yeah, it was only like sort of last K and a half, it gets about a 15% gradient, which to me, I think, double digits I'm walking, and I actually quite enjoyed walking, I must admit. It's a bit narrow, the road at times, and the usual camper vans came out. It's just something to bear in mind. Not a lot of traffic, but just to take a bit of care, because there was really very, very little shoulder in parts of it. Up to the top, and it is blowing a gale, and it's quite steep going down the other side. You really, obviously very sheltered going up, obviously, but so then headed down, very steep, pulled over a couple of times, let traffic go past me. It was just, it was too steep for sort of enjoyable riding for me. Some people would get into it. Then headed down a trail, which I thought was just about as steep, into Aotearoa. Aotearoa was market day and all sorts of bits and pieces. It was chocker. I was hoping to have a good bite to eat there because I hadn't eaten. Anyhow, I got a snack sort of thing at some cafe on the edge. Didn't really. I was quite happy to leave, I think, there. Headed out and on the little trail they have near Aotearoa, following the river, which goes about, I think, about 10 Ks. It was quite picturesque. Had an incident, or not me, observed an incident, and just sort of offering whatever nominal support I could. A couple have been riding along, just obviously just tourists in the area they were, and he'd suddenly just passed out and fallen off and hit his head, and anyhow, she was on the phone to an ambulance and going through symptoms. A couple of us just stopped and just talking to her and that sort of thing. I mean, it was all well in hand, because it was just quite amazing how they were asking her to do the various tests and sort of thing. And someone else turned out a little bit of medical background, and it was all. And then the ambulance and that turned up, and he came too. So that was a massive relief. So anyhow, another local turned up, so just in terms of practical things, was going to take their bikes, so they went to the hospital. But it was a good outcome out of something. You just went, whoa, what happened? But anyhow, she didn't know why. It was just casually doing an afternoon ride. Anyhow, so that was good to see a good outcome there. Then I had about 35 Ks of its gravel trail all the way into Queenstown. Stunning scenery. You're following the lake here and there, going in and out a bit. Gorgeous weather. Even saw the shot over Jet and that sort of stuff. You go over the bridge near there. But I absolutely hated it. It's quite undulating until you sort of get to probably the first 2/3 of it, and I just think and talking to some others about it as well, that Geange, while it's going up the Crown Range, is like 39 Ks, and it's very, very gradual. I think you can underestimate what it takes out of your legs. I was whacked. I was walking up hills that you wouldn't walk up normally. I just had nothing in me, and I was swearing profusely whenever I saw a hill, which is again a completely pointless exercise because you got to get up there. And I was laughing at myself. It was so stupid. So I was very relieved to get into Queenstown. I basically got to the motel, and I had to lug the bike up a couple of flights of stairs, which anyhow I was pleased about it with the bike in the room. Some hotels don't say anything, so you do. Some hotels have bikes through, it's all good. Either way, it's entirely up to them, of course. Did the usual charging up of stuff and wandered down found a pub. Queenstown was busy. I just realised sort of how used you are to small places, and all of a sudden you're in a town that's chocker full of tourists, and it's like, oh, okay, there's people everywhere, which was sort of amusing, considering I live in Sydney. But anyhow, so went to the bar and ordered off the menu a few items, and then the person serving me had the gall to ask how many sets of cutlery I wanted, which in hindsight was quite funny, but I was a bit taken back. So as my meals arrived and I consumed them in rapid manner. Anyhow, it was a great day, apart from the fact I really hated that last sort of 2 to 3 hours of just going in. I slept like a log, getting ready for the next day. I'd made plans for what I was going to do to finish. It was kind of strange because Karen was arriving, this was Sunday night, so Karen was arriving that night into Christchurch, my partner. So she then was going to make her way down to Macaugala the next couple of days, and I'd planned that I would then I could finish in 2 days, but I decided to really spread it out, do one more longish day, and then just really take 2 very easy days to finish and do it in 29 days, fairly well. I booked the accommodation, that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that was good. Sort of went to bed, it was a bit strange really, so thinking, oh, we're sort of getting close. Anyhow, roll on to the next day. Day 27, Queenstown to Mossburn. It was 100 k's. It wasn't so much the distance as actually it's a bit of unknown what it was going to be like. You sort of read mixed reports on it. So this involved going across the lake to Walters Peak. I got a water taxi because I wanted to leave early, a bit slower. You can do a staff boat, but it seems to vary the time. It's 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, or you can try and do the steamer. The Earnslow, which is usually about 11 o'clock or maybe 1 o'clock for some sailings to go across. Hear mixed reports about getting bikes on the steamer and that sort of stuff. Anyhow, I decided I needed the full day, so I got the water taxi across. It's still dark, of course. And then it's a farm there, so there's nothing else there. And then you spend about 50 k's going through, I think they're like private roads, going through sheep stations, because there's gates to close and all that sort of stuff, and there's no traffic apart from some locals heading down to the shearing sheds. So, but part of it also includes a hill, Von Hill, which is 700 and something or other metres of climbing. I sort of realised quite early on that I was just shot on the legs from the. I think it's the previous day. I really struggled up the Bon Hill. It was also cold. I had the rain jacket on, gloves on, but I was bloody cold. So I wasn't really enjoying it. A couple of things of water over the road for the little fjords, and to do the usual of walking across in the bare feet and then putting the shoes and socks back on. But and that was cold. I wasn't enjoying it at all. And it was gravel again, so it was juddering the wrists, etc., etc. So again, swearing profusely with no one around. A couple of guys caught up with me who I'd seen way back in, what did I see then? Timber Trail Lodge. That was kind of cool. But anyhow, they were soon gone. They'd actually stayed at the camping ground over near Walters Peak Station the night before. So then kept going, and then it turns into a public road. There's actually a lake and a camping area and this sort of thing. I mean, it was a beautiful day, and scenery. You're going down a valley and there's mountains on either side of you all the way, and snow on them. There'd been a southerly the night before, so it brings in the snow. I became an instant expert because that's what the water taxi guy told me, which didn't really help with the temperature. So the road varied. Some people say it's smooth and it gets rough. It just varies. I found some parts were smooth and you're flying along. After Von Hill, it's like quite a bit of a steady downhill for about 30 odd k's, but at parts of it were still rough gravel, not smooth gravel, so you sort of felt it. Stopped quite a few times, just flexing the wrists and that. So the wrists weren't getting any worse, but I could feel them. And then for some reason there's a cycle trail off it that does the last sort of 25 k's into Mossburn, which was lovely. I'm not quite sure why it was there, because it didn't sort of go anywhere. It's 25 k's out of Mossburn, there's a cycle trail. Well, there was nothing at the end of it. So anyhow, maybe it's a funny thing or whatever. But I wasn't knocking that. It was lovely actually. It was gravel, it was smooth, it was quite scenic actually. I quite enjoyed it. So I got into Mossburn. I was staying at some accommodation directly opposite the Mossburn Hotel, or the Railway Hotel, which the pub actually owned and managed. And had a good night at the pub. I really spent longer than I normally do. I'm usually there an hour, but I was there for 2 or 3 hours. The guys I mentioned earlier, they were there, so we had a bit of a catch up, which was nice. And then I realised I had 2 very, very easy days. Most people, from what I understand, basically go Mossburn to Bluff in one day. It's 130 k's, and the prevailing wind is a tailwind. I decided, well, what's the difference of 28, 29 days? I'm going to split it in half and just enjoy it. So I only had like 70 k's to do tomorrow, so I was probably why I spent 2 or 3 hours at the pub, because I could basically sleep in and have breakfast in the cafe in town and just have the easiest day I've ever had. Anyhow, slept like a log. 28, Mossburn to Winton, a grand total of about 68 kilometres or something or other. So went down to the cafe at Mossburn, got there at 7:30 and left there at 9 and going, well, this is the way to travel. And then 3 hours later I was in Winton. So here I am at 12 o'clock going, I did think about continuing all the way through to Bluff and just, even Karen know, well, let's sit down to it. I thought, no. Just take it and enjoy the day. And so here at the cafe, I was staying at the Railway Hotel. It's from 1861. It's been refurbished. Oh, it was a great hotel. Nice big rooms, and you put your bike outside the garden bar, and they had a rack there. And then when everybody's finishing the garden, which was not really there, it was a Tuesday night. So at night you just bring it in and lock it up inside the garden bar, which is fabulous. So just sort of easy day there, just sort of thinking about finishing. Again, nice weather. It was just, a very relaxing and easy day, and I think it's quite amusing. You sort of describe doing like 70 k's as like a warm-up almost. It was, but the difference of having sealed road and dead flat, it's a whole new world. Top day. Got to thinking about a few things that have worked well for me on the ride. Technology has worked well for me. I had a spare iPhone, which I mentioned previously, that I had mounted on top of the handlebars. I used that for navigation in the dark, and I used it for any sort of video stuff I tried to do when you're cycling, which explains the juddering impact of some of the videos I did and how crappy they are really, but anyhow, that's fine. Then I used the lights front and back. I had a Garmin watch that I just used to each day for the ride, just so I knew the distance travelled. Wasn't interested in anything else, and that meant I could correlate it to the Kenner Brothers books, which I know everybody says, but I'll read it, are absolutely brilliant. I can't believe you can be saying 29 k's, hang a right down, whatever, and you look at, well, 29 k's. So there you go, there's the turn right. So yeah, absolute credit those books. You can have this, faith that they'll just get you there, and they do. So I was really pleased with that. I was also pleased I had the power bank was in a top tube bag, so it meant I could charge things up while I was going along. So my watch, if I had a long day, more than about 8 or 9 hours, the watch started to run out of power. So I would just wrap it around the handlebars and charge it up to the power bank. Lights, I ran tail lights on all day. And if it was a darkish sort of day, I sometimes would run headlights as well. So I could charge them, while I was riding along, and including the phone. I had my own personal phone as well, but that wasn't being used apart from at night, obviously. So I was really, really pleased with that setup. Worked really, really well. Anyhow, looking forward to the next day, which will be the final day. Day 29. Okay, this was a bit of a joke. For some reason, which is just me, I thought I'd better leave early again. So I sent a text to Karen saying I'll be there at lunchtime. Then I sent her a text saying I'll be there at 11:30. And of course these texts kept on happening, and what do you know, I got there at 10:15. What a joke. Dead flat, slight tailwind, um, road, then trail around Invercargill, sort of southern part of Invercargill, which was kind of interesting, and then a quite boring but sealed path following down the road from Invercargill to Bluff, and then came into Bluff, and then it was done, which all felt very, very strange. That's what you've done for 29 days, and I finished. I don't know, I had massive elation or whatever, but anyhow, it was awesome to do it, but it just felt surreal. Obviously great to see Karen, and yeah, so that was me done at 10:30 in the morning. I could have done it the day before, and I still would have been there by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but anyhow, that was good. Just a couple of reflections. Obviously friends and family have sent text messages directly to me, or they've gone through Karen and that sort of stuff, and just things of support and that sort of stuff, and I sent a couple of photos here and there. They were immensely appreciated, so thank you to everyone who did that, which is a number of you, and yeah, it meant a lot getting those at times, that sort of stuff. The other aspect of staying with people, so yeah, Windsor and Allison, sort of accommodation there at Tahiti, most appreciated. My brother Russell and Kath, immensely appreciated. And lastly, basically, obviously Karen, she flew over and dropped me off at Cape Reinga, then battled through closed roads all the way to Auckland to get home, and then flew back again 3 weeks later to come down and pick me up, and then in between was sort of, had everything laid out at home and where I was, and was following and was getting messages, and then I know her family was liaising with her about what I was doing or what was going on, and yeah, catching up with her here and there and that sort of thing, and offering support. So fantastic. Yeah, hugely appreciate my partner Karen did with all that. Yeah, it was a phenomenal, but like a team effort in many ways, which these things are. And then people say, oh well, now you've done that, what's next? I don't think you can answer that. In many ways, I think Tour Aotearoa is a unique experience. It's obviously an individual experience. Even I did it on my own, but even if you did it with others, it's still an individual experience. And that's a conversation I've had with people. Others might disagree with it. I don't think it's something you turn around, I must do it again. I met a couple of them saying, I'm going to do it in less days next time. I'm going, well, it's not a race. But to each their own goals. I think it's something you might revisit in a number of years' time and go, oh, it might have all changed the route by then, but I have no burning desire, particularly at the moment, to do it. Probably look at doing something else. I also think that a month is a long time to be out and about cycling. Just living off your bike. I found that a long time, to be on your own doing it all. Other things that work well, I thought the bike was, as you know, a couple of little things with it, but nothing major, nothing that stopped you, so the bike was great. Shout out for the Salsa Fargo, very happy with that. What I packed worked really, really well, I thought. The front was when the bars had sleeping bag and tent and stuff related to that. That bag never got opened. I never wanted to sleep in a tent. I sort of got tempted one night, but then weather forecast said rain, so quickly stopped that one. So that's still on this brand new wrapping paper, that tent, but theoretically it works well. So I probably could have just leave that at home, and I think you can do the whole thing without a tent. I don't think that's really an issue. Might need a bit more planning. I planned my accommodation like 2 to 3 days out, so I go, okay, well I'll book the next couple of nights. Some people do it on the day, and it's fine. I like to have just that level of organisation is enough. So something I didn't have to think about, and I just rolled it forward every couple of days. The other thing in the middle bag there has like a half frame bag that has all the bike stuff, tubes and that sort of stuff, and bike repair stuff, and that all was all fine. I mean, hardly used any of it. I don't run tubeless, and that's just habit. I've always had tubes on road bikes. I'm sure tubeless are great, but it worked for me, only given that one sort of puncture issue around Wanganui to Rapidi, so I was quite happy with that. And then the back bag behind the seat really was the clothes, so 2 changes of cycling nicks, and then a pair of shorts, track pants, and a vest and a t-shirt, really, a pair of jandals, and some very basic toiletries. I thought to myself, oh yeah, well that'll be, is that enough? But it was more than enough. You just got in the habit of washing clothes. So it worked pretty well. I wouldn't change a whole lot. The only thing I'm going to look at in the future is because of the wrist aspect, which came fine once I had the more muscles. They were just tensed up at a massage, and they just worked the muscles out in the forearms, and it sort of released it a bit, and they're fine. Is that one? I know I had tire pressure up was too high. Yeah, I could have lowered the tire pressure a bit. But the other aspect is that whole juddering and sort of holding the hoods and curved bars. Whether I might look in the future, and I'm going to have a chat to the bike shop about more flat bar, like a Geange bar, and just see what that would do in terms of tension in the wrists, because that was the only aspect really. Everything else, muscles are a bit tensed up, etc. But what do you expect after a month? No seat issues. Had the Brooks B17 seat. I'd had that for about a year or two. That worked. That was very comfortable. Got a bit sore, but no issues whatsoever. So I was happy with that. All in all, I was very, very pleased with how everything ran. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and might see you again on another ride.